Decision to leave follows a South Korean detective named Hae Jun falling for this mysterious Chinese woman named Seo, who is the wife of the Korean man who has died after falling off a cliff. She comes in for the initial investigation, where she doesn't show grief over the death of her husband, rather hides a small giggle when asked about it. The movie started with the detective trying to investigate on the case of Ki Do-soo, who jumped off a cliff and has been dead for a while but was found only if recent. Just up the cliff, when the detective got there, they found his backpack and other items. They found out he was 60 and drinks whiskey as well. He usually works at the immigration office, but after retiring he stayed as a part-time interviewer. They were trying to get access to his phone, but it wasn't possible, because it has a password. Shortly after, Song Seo-rae, who happened to be Ki Do-soo's wife, came into the mortuary where Ki Do-soo is laid. As she came, she said she was Chinese, so her Korea is not fluent. However, she had a bandage on her hand. She said she has always been worried whenever he goes mountain climbing and he is dead at last, which sends a strange signal to the detective because she said at last and was not also grieving. They showed her the scene of the incident and she said again that he perished as he has always wanted, and the perish sounds absurd as well. They found another fingerprint under Kido body and they would need to get his wife Song Seo-rae oral epithelia cell tissue. Her husband just died and she is already back to working without time to grief. As she is followed further, there are shocking clues in the play of how she is wanted for murder in China and was almost brought into Korea by her husband, who has his initials tattooed on her. After so many investigations, the case was finally closed and Song Seo-rae is now free and is no longer a suspect. She asked if the detective was happy and he said yes, he was. The narrative skips a few months ahead, and then another murder occurs. The same characters return, but now the tables have turned. Seo-rae operates like a master of what Hae Jun is capable of and becomes a magnetic force of distraction around his morals. It is also in the blink and will miss territory of attention to detail, where each scene and new exchange hides and enhances a possible clue. Song-rae and Hae Jun were not in a relationship when she came home one day and decided to put down the pictures of herself and her deceased husband down his investigation chatboard because he said he would take them down after the investigation, and she burnt them, but they both selected the ones that were her and were pretty to keep. Hae Jun finds it difficult to sleep at night, so Song-rae devised a method she had improved on with time from the US Army, and she told him to close his eyes and try match his breathing with hers, and it worked perfectly. However, the old lady complains that Song's hands used to be soft, but now Hae Jun's hands are way softer than her hands. He picks his phone to help her out and saw she has so many apps opened and he helped remove them, but the last one was strange. So he asked the old lady what day it was and has she gone out with Song-rae, and she said she has not been out in 10 years, so the Hae Jun set the exact time on his phone and traced her movements right from when the CCTV camera caught. It lead him to the fact that whenever she wants to go out, she takes the old lady phone and switches with hers and goes out through the window to go to the mountain. He also tried climbing the Bigium Peak mountain, which is a slippery mountain as it was first called the Oil Mountain. As he climbed up the mountain, he discovered that it was the exact same minute he saw on the old lady's phone that it measured. This means she pushed her husband down the cliff and he scratched her while she was at it. She came back and saw him as she tries to sit close to him. He stood up and showed her the phone, saying he thought she said she was scared of height. How did she get to the mountain, and why did she take actions into her own hands? Why didn't she call the police? But she was scared because he said he would send her back to China, and she didn't want to. She also sent him life-threatening letters. She already burnt the pictures and voice recording from the scene, and Hae Jun thought she cared about him, but it was a means to clear her path. She stood up and hugged him from behind and told him to not talk all about their time together, but he stood up and said his dignity and pride has been violated as a police officer because he went for a crazy woman and ruined his investigation, and now he is completely shattered. He told her he got the old lady a new phone and she is not aware of what she did with her phone, and she should throw the phone into the sea someplace deep where no one can find it, and he left her alone. However, we see that it was 13 months later in Hae Jun and he is still finding it difficult to get sleep, so he came to the doctor for prescriptions and he gave him an idea to dip his foot in water before bed and he would give him some dopamine, and if they don't work he would give him an instrument that he would breathe through his nose while he sleep. We see somewhere else a man hitting a lady so hard on the face, and he asked where her husband was and she said he ran away without her, that there were pack of expensive items on the table and it was strange because her husband was not around, so how could she afford them? The man was angry because his mother was sick while they live an extravagant lifestyle. She picked a fork behind her just as he came close. She stabbed him on his hand, removed her wig and told him she already said she would only endure for 10 minutes because of his mother, but does she knows he goes beating women? He then told her that if his mother dies he would put her body in the freezer and make sure to kill her husband become does his mother funeral. Hae Jun meets Seo Rae again after a year at the fish market at Lipo. She's now with her second husband, Ho Shin, who is a trade analyst. He is found stabbed in his swimming pool, and this time Seo Rae is put under temporary arrest with charges. But she hasn't committed the murder. Even as the confession is recorded of the man named Chul Sung, whose connection to Seo Rae is made in the brief interlude, who facilitated the murder, we know that Seo Rae hasn't committed this crime. She calls Hae Jun at night when it snows and gives him the evidence he had told her to destroy the last crime, the phone. The next day, Hae Jun finds out that it is indeed Chul Sung who killed her second husband, but as a consequence of Seo Rae killing Chul Sung's mother. Here comes the twist. Seo Rae is in her car, whose location Hae Jun tracks. On the way, he calls her to seek answers. Why? He asks. Hae Jun reveals that she did so because she knew her husband reinvested the mother's money and lost it. As a result, if she drugs the mother and kills her, Chul Sung will blame Ho Shin and eventually kill him. By the end, Ho Shin also finds out the recording in her phone where Hae Jun tells her, "I love you." It is not told in the literal sense of the term but in the fear that Seo Rae will be caught, so she must get rid of the evidence at the soonest. That gesture shows his love for her. She stops her car on the beach and breaks off the call advising Hae Jun to throw the phone into the sea. She digs up the sand just as the waves reach and waits inside for the water to fill. Hae Jun reaches the spot, but by the time he is there he is finding it difficult to see, so he used his eyes drop and could not see he in her car, so he took her phone and tried to remember her password from the last time they were together and he was able to get it, frantically looking out for her. She is too deep inside the water level to be alive. Decision to leave ends with Hae Jun listening to his own voice in the recording and still looking out for her. Her decision to kill herself was because she knew the truth would come out, and that would also mean that Hae Jun would be pulled into the investigation for his attempt to destroy evidence.